Okay, so the Gasprenheitzeldojf Affair, that is pronounced Gasprenheitzeldojf, it is how Nate and I met. He had posted on his blog about needing reference pictures for a modeling project he had going, and we interrupted regular programming with the question of, how did I find his blog? How did he find mine? Because he posted on my blog first. I had been posting technical gobbledygook about my new computer, lots of specs, lots of, like I said, technical gobbledygook. So I recognized his name, clicked on his name to go to his blog to see what he was up to. There I found the lovely post about the Gasprenheitzeldojf thing, which I will further explain. Yeah, he found my blog through the open blogs. There's a page on HSA where everyone's blogs that are open to registered users can be scrolled through, and you can see what your friends are up to or what the populace is up to, that sort of thing. And he had seen my blog there, so that's how that happened. Back to what we were saying before. He had been frequenting the marriage and relationships forums on HSA, and he'd come up with this question of, does the last name really matter? Do us girls take that into consideration when we're thinking about whether or not we're going to marry a guy? And for those of you who don't know, Nate's last name is Skinner. He lives on Blood Street, which is a dead end. So it's a little amusing. But so he posted, instead of posting on the forums, he posted on his blog. Asking the girls, would you marry a guy by the name of John Gasprenheitzeldojf? Does the last name matter? And he chose Gasprenheitzeldojf because it's just awkward and long and hard to spell, and just, yeah. Yeah, there were a bunch of girls commented with reference pictures as well as the answer to the question, and a lot of them were like, absolutely not. A few of them were like, heck yeah, and a couple of them were like, only if his name was actually something else, and or they'd do it but they wouldn't take the last name, or they wouldn't use the last name. And I came back, being me, with a rather serious answer. I consider it a serious answer, but I told him, it doesn't matter what the last name is. What matters is who the person is. It kind of piqued his interest. And he came and he posted on my wall on Homeschool Alumni, and he says, I'll have to remember that the next time you turn him down because he isn't your type. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. I've already turned this guy down. Well, what Nate didn't know at that point was, I'm an imp. Much like he is. If you know Nate, he can be really crazy at times. And if you know me, I'm rather crazy at times. So, yeah, he said that, I'd already turned this guy down, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be fun. And we started going back and forth on each other's walls, like this Gasprenheitzeldojf person, which I knew was complete and total fiction. I googled him and he didn't come up, so. I lost my train of thought. Yeah. So we were going back and forth as if I had actually refused Gasprenheitzeldojf's proposal, and had done it in a very much of a Lizzie Bennet sort of style, in that, told him that I wouldn't marry him if he was the last man on earth. And Nate was playing the part of middleman, who is a friend of Gasprenheitzeldojf's, and was going to make my apologies for me next time he saw his college buddy. And so we had convinced. This lasted from February 2011 until May 2011. And in that time, we'd convinced about half of the homeschool alumni people that this was actually a real person. I had actually refused his proposal and was now regretting my decision, which I made to be very, logical, because, who wouldn't want to marry, filthy rich Gasprenheitzeldojf? So, Nate came up with the name, and I came up with the rest of the story. But it got to a point where, in order to continue the story, this is probably late March, that I would have to have actually written Nathaniel a letter and send him a letter in order to keep it rolling. So instead of doing that, I invented a wife for Mr. Gasprenheitzeldojf. Her name was Wilhelmina Nudelheimer Schmidt. Yes, Nudelheimer Schmidt. And I made all of this up. They met in Liechtenstein, which is a country, by the way, tiny country. But they met in Liechtenstein and got married end of February, and they had a lovely whirlwind romance, and they are living happily ever after to this day. So that kind of dropped off because now Gasprenheitzeldojf was married, and I didn't have to worry about it anymore. So about April, I decided that for April Fool's Day, I was going to change my name, which is better because the year before that, I had posted pictures of me and this little red-headed girl who was about 2, and had convinced at least a couple of my extended families that this was actually my daughter that I had given up. Not my daughter. That was the first day I'd met the child. She was a sweetheart, though, and apparently she still is. She's going on 4 now. But she was a little girl that one of my friends were babysitting. Yeah. So I decided to, instead of that, I would change my name. I'd seriously considered changing my my relationship status, but everybody does that for April Fools, especially on Facebook, so I decided against it. So instead, I invented Joanna Gasprenheitzeldojf. Joanna Gasprenheitzeldojf is John Gasprenheitzeldojf's younger sister. Now, we had decided that John and Nate were the same age, so they were 24 going on 25 at that point, and or 23 going on 24. This was before July 2011. And then Joanna would have been the same age as I was, so just turned 21. And so, yeah, so Joanna is John's younger sister. And I confused a lot of people with that. It was a lot of fun. My name on it, Homeschool Alumni, is still Joanna Gasprenheitzeldojf. I had to take all the vowels out in order for it to fit, because you're only allowed like 20 characters for your name. And Gasprenheitzeldojf is 18 if you leave the vowels in. So yeah, we took them out. But that's been my name on HSA ever since. And but it kind of moved on a little bit more. The story continued into May, like I said, after I changed my name in April. But after that, it pretty much died off. Nate and I kept talking. We got to know each other better, and this led to that, and that led to this, and now we're getting married. So it was a very interesting start to our friendship, that's for sure. But it's really, like I said, interesting start. So that was the story. There's more to it. There's lots of lovely little details down there in the actual written out part. These are the actual happenings. I did not edit any of it. That's what the people said. These are real people. That sort of thing. So it's just a lot. So, but that's the Gasprenheitzeldojf story. That's how we met. So, hope you enjoy reading all of the lovely stuff we have on the blog and all of that. So